is a power within you greater than any words you could ever speak. It is the power of silence. In a world where everyone is rushing to explain, to defend, to prove themselves, the one who masters silence holds the key to peace, wisdom, and influence. Today, I want to share with you the secret power of saying nothing, how it can transform your life, elevate your energy, and bring you everything you desire. When you choose silence over unnecessary words, you exude strength. People respect those who do not feel the need to explain or justify themselves. Silence says, I know my worth and I do not need to prove it. Instead of reacting to every situation, take a breath and allow your silence to speak volumes. Those who once ignored your value will start paying attention. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use in your life. It is not just the absence of words, but the presence of discipline, confidence, and self-assurance. When you master silence, you send a message to the world that you are in control of your emotions and your energy. People who do not constantly explain, defend, or overshare are perceived as strong. There is something deeply compelling about a person who can remain calm in the face of chaos. It shows wisdom, it shows self-respect, it shows an understanding that not everything requires a response. Have you ever noticed that the people who talk the most are often the least influential? The ones who feel the need to constantly prove themselves, to seek validation, to explain every action, these are the people who lose their power. When you say less, people listen more. When you stop giving away your energy through endless words, you create an aura of presence and authority. Silence demands attention. It makes others wonder what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you might do next. That curiosity alone shifts the dynamic in your favor. In relationships, silence can be a powerful form of communication. When someone disrespects you, your silence speaks louder than any argument. When you refuse to engage in toxic conversations, you set a boundary without saying a word. Silence tells people that you will not lower yourself to their level. It forces them to reflect on their behavior. It creates space for them to recognize your worth. Many people talk because they are uncomfortable with silence. But those who embrace it understand its power. They know that true confidence is not in explaining or convincing. It is in being secure in who you are. In business and leadership, silence is a strategy. The most powerful people in the world are not the ones who speak the most, but the ones who speak the least and listen the most. When you pause before responding, when you take a moment of silence before making a decision, you show wisdom. People respect a leader who does not react impulsively, who does not feel pressured to respond immediately. They respect those who take their time, who observe, who consider every angle before speaking. When you remain silent in negotiations, the other party often fills the space with more information than they intended to give. Your silence makes them uncomfortable, and in their attempt to break it, they reveal more than they should. Even in personal conflicts, silence can be your greatest weapon. When someone is trying to provoke you, the best response is often no response at all. Engaging in arguments with people who only want to drain your energy is a waste of your power. Your silence shows that you will not be manipulated, that you refuse to be pulled into their chaos. It sends a message that their words have no effect on you, and nothing frustrates a toxic person more than realizing they cannot control your emotions. Silence also protects your inner peace. When you learn to sit in silence, to listen to your own thoughts without distraction, you gain clarity. You begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You no longer seek external validation because you are in tune with your inner wisdom. There is a reason why the most enlightened people in history have spent time in solitude, in silence. It is because silence connects you to your true self. It strips away the noise of the world and brings you back to your essence. When you practice silence, you also become more aware of the words you do choose to speak. You begin to realize that not every thought needs to be expressed. Not every feeling needs to be vocalized. Not every argument needs to be won. You become intentional with your words. When you do speak, people listen because they know that your words carry weight. They know that you are not speaking just to fill space, but because you have something meaningful to say. There is an undeniable power in saying nothing. It is a strength that few people understand, but those who do are always the ones who command the most respect. When you choose silence, you are not being passive. You are being deliberate. You are conserving your energy for things that truly matter. You are showing the world that your presence alone is enough. And when you do that, everything shifts. People start treating you differently. They start valuing your words more. They start respecting you on a deeper level. Silence is a statement. It says, I do not need to explain myself. I do not need to react. I do not need to prove my worth. When you embrace silence, you gain control over your life. You step into a place of power that words alone could never give you. And in that space of quiet strength, you get everything you ever needed. Silence is a sanctuary, a shield that protects your energy from being drained by unnecessary conversations, conflicts, and distractions. In a world that constantly demands your attention, where everyone is rushing to share their opinions, defend themselves, and prove their worth, silence becomes your greatest ally. It is in the quiet moments that you reclaim your power, realign with your true self, and protect your energy from being scattered in directions that do not serve you. Your words are a form of energy. Every time you speak, you are giving a part of yourself to the world. When you engage in meaningless conversations, when you explain yourself to those who have already made up their minds, when you argue with people who are only interested in misunderstanding you, you are giving away your power. Silence allows you to conserve that energy. It teaches you to be intentional with your words, to speak only when necessary, and to hold on to the strength that comes from within. There is a reason why you feel exhausted after an argument or after spending time with people who constantly demand your attention. Words carry energy, and when you allow yourself to be drawn into negativity, you absorb that energy. You take on the emotions, the frustrations, and the chaos of others. But when you practice silence, you create a boundary that protects you. You stop letting the outside world dictate your inner peace. You learn to observe without reacting, to listen without being affected, to exist in a space where your energy remains intact. Silence is not about suppressing your voice or avoiding communication. It is about choosing where to invest your energy. Not everything requires a response. Not every question needs an answer. Not every insult deserves your attention. When you understand this, you stop wasting your time on people and situations that drain you. Instead, you redirect that energy toward yourself, toward your growth, toward your peace. You learn that true strength is not in reacting, but in knowing when to remain still. There will be times when people try to provoke you, when they push your buttons in an attempt to get a reaction. They may insult you, question your choices, or try to pull you into their negativity. But the moment you engage, you have given them control. You have allowed them to take your energy and use it for their own purpose. Silence, on the other hand, disarms them. It leaves them with nothing to hold on to. They cannot argue with someone who refuses to respond. They cannot manipulate someone who does not engage. And in that silence, you hold all the power. Silence also creates space for self-reflection. When you are constantly talking, constantly explaining, constantly reacting, you do not give yourself the opportunity to listen to yourself, to your intuition, to the wisdom that already exists within you. But in silence, you reconnect with that inner voice. You gain clarity. You begin to understand what truly matters. And in that understanding, you find peace. Think about the moments when you have felt most at ease, most in control of your life. Chances are they were moments of quiet. Perhaps it was a time when you walked away from an argument instead of engaging. Perhaps it was when you chose not to respond to a message that would have drained your energy. Perhaps it was when you simply sat in stillness and allowed yourself to just be. These moments are powerful because they remind you that you do not have to give your energy to everything that demands it. You have the choice to protect yourself, to preserve your peace, to stay grounded in your own power. When you make silence a part of your daily practice, you begin to notice a shift. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to people who will never understand. You no longer feel obligated to respond to negativity. You no longer waste your energy on things that do not serve you. Instead, you cultivate an inner strength that cannot be shaken. You move through life with confidence, knowing that your energy is sacred and that you have the right to protect it. This does not mean you should never speak or express yourself. There will be times when your voice is needed, when you must stand up for yourself or communicate your truth. But the difference is that you will no longer speak out of impulse, out of fear, or out of the need for validation. You will speak with purpose, with clarity, with the understanding that your words carry weight. And because of that, people will listen. There is an old saying that silence is the language of the wise. Those who understand the power of silence know that it is not emptiness, it is fullness, it is presence. It is the ability to hold your energy close to you, to guard it, to use it only where it truly matters. And when you master this, you gain control over your life in ways you never imagined. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where you are tempted to react, take a breath. Pause. Ask yourself if this is worth your energy. If it is not, choose silence. Let your peace be your response. Let your stillness be your strength. And watch as the world around you shifts, not because you spoke, but because you chose not to. Silence holds a mysterious power. When you speak less, people start to wonder about you. They become curious about what you are thinking, what you might do next, and why you are not responding like everyone else. In a world where people rush to express their thoughts and opinions, the one who remains silent stands out. Silence creates an aura of intrigue, making others want to know more. It shifts the balance of power in your favor because the less you reveal, the more people speculate. When you hold back your words, you do not give people easy access to your thoughts and emotions. This makes them curious. They start analyzing your every move, trying to decipher what is going on in your mind. They wonder about your next step, your feelings, your reactions. Silence creates a sense of mystery. And mystery always attracts attention. It is human nature to want to understand what is unknown. When you are not predictable, people cannot categorize you, and that alone makes them more drawn to you. There is a reason why those who talk too much often lose their impact. When you constantly share everything, your thoughts, your plans, your emotions, there is nothing left for others to wonder about. They already know what to expect. But when you remain silent, you leave gaps for their imagination to fill. They start thinking about you more than they would if you had just given them all the answers. Your silence plants a seed in their minds, making them replay past conversations, analyze your actions, and seek meaning where there may be none. In relationships, silence can be an incredibly powerful tool. When someone expects a reaction from you and you choose not to give it, they become fixated on you. Whether it is after an argument, a breakup, or a moment of tension, your silence makes the other person wonder what you are thinking and feeling. If they were expecting anger, sadness, or desperation, and instead they are met with stillness, It unsettles them. They start questioning their own actions. They become drawn to the unknown, trying to understand what is happening in your mind. Silence in this way creates a pull, an invisible force that makes people pay attention in a way they never would if you had just spoken out of impulse. Even in professional settings, silence commands curiosity and respect. The person who listens more and speaks less is often seen as more intelligent, more in control. When you do not rush to fill the air with words, others assume you have something valuable to say when you finally choose to speak. People lean in when the quiet person decides to share their thoughts because they know that silence often precedes wisdom. This is why the most powerful individuals in any field are not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who know the value of restraint. Silence also has the ability to shift dynamics in social situations. Imagine you are in a group where everyone is eager to voice their opinions. The person who remains silent naturally draws attention. Others start looking toward them, wondering what they think, why they are not engaging, and whether they hold a different perspective. This curiosity can work to your advantage. It puts you in a position of influence because when you finally do speak, people are more likely to listen. They have been waiting, and in that waiting, their curiosity has grown. Another reason silence makes people curious is that it signals confidence. When you are silent, it shows you do not need to seek approval or validation through words. You are comfortable in your own presence, in your own thoughts. This kind of quiet self-assurance is rare, and people are naturally drawn to it. They want to know what gives you such inner strength. They want to understand how you can remain composed while others scramble for attention. Your silence makes them pay closer attention, hoping to uncover the secret behind your self-possession. The ability to remain silent at the right moments is one of the most powerful social tools you can develop. It allows you to control how much information you reveal, to make people lean in and take notice, and to create an air of mystery that keeps you in their thoughts. People remember those who make them feel something, and silence has a way of making others feel intrigued, unsettled, and deeply curious. However, silence is not about being distant or unapproachable. It is about being deliberate. It is about knowing that your energy and your words are valuable and should not be given away carelessly. It is about understanding that mystery is a form of attraction and that curiosity is a force that keeps people engaged. When you choose silence, you invite others to think about you more deeply. You create a sense of wonder, a desire to understand you better, and in doing so, you gain an unspoken influence over the way they see you. You do not have to chase attention when you understand the power of silence. It draws people to you naturally, making them want to know more, to stay engaged, and to uncover the depths of your presence. Silence is more than the absence of noise. It is a pathway to inner peace. In a world filled with distractions, endless conversations, and constant demands for our attention, silence becomes a rare and precious gift. It allows us to step away from the chaos, reconnect with ourselves, and find clarity in the stillness. When you embrace silence, you create space for peace to enter your life, a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but arises from deep within. Too often we fill our lives with noise. We talk to fill the emptiness, scroll through endless feeds to avoid stillness, and surround ourselves with activity to keep from facing our own thoughts. But true peace does not come from external validation or constant movement. It comes from being comfortable in silence. When you allow yourself to be quiet, to sit with your thoughts without judgment or distraction, you discover an inner sanctuary that no one can disturb. Silence helps you detach from negativity. When you are constantly engaged in conversations, especially those filled with drama, complaints, or gossip, you absorb the energy of those interactions. Words carry weight, and the more you participate in negativity, the more it infiltrates your mind and spirit. But when you practice silence, you create a shield between yourself and the outside world. You learn to listen without absorbing, to observe without reacting, and to protect your peace by not engaging in conversations that drain your energy. Inner peace grows when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself or seek approval from others. Silence teaches you that not everything requires a response. You do not have to justify your choices, defend your boundaries, or argue to prove a point. When you choose silence, you reclaim your power. You realize that true confidence comes not from speaking the loudest, but from knowing that your worth does not need validation. In this way, silence frees you from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval, allowing you to rest in the certainty of who you are. In moments of silence, clarity emerges. When you are always talking, always reacting, always filling the air with words, there is no room for deeper understanding. But when you allow yourself to be still, to step back, to listen to the quiet within, answers come naturally. You start to hear your intuition, that inner voice that is often drowned out by the noise of daily life. You begin to recognize what truly matters, what aligns with your soul, and what is simply a distraction. Silence is where wisdom is found. Not in overthinking, but in allowing space for insight to rise. Silence also allows you to let go of emotional turmoil. So many conflicts and worries are fueled by unnecessary words, by arguments that could have been avoided, by explanations that were never needed, by reactions that only created more stress. When you choose silence, you give yourself time to process emotions rather than be controlled by them. You learn to sit with your feelings, to understand them, and to release them without the need for external validation. This brings an unshakable peace, because you are no longer tied to the emotional ups and downs created by constant interaction. There is a deep healing power in silence. When you sit quietly, without distractions, your nervous system relaxes. Your mind slows down, your body releases tension. In this space, you allow yourself to breathe, to be present, to exist without the need to do anything or be anything other than yourself. This kind of stillness rejuvenates you, restoring your energy in a way that nothing else can. It is why moments of quiet reflection feel so refreshing, why walks in nature or simply sitting in solitude can feel like a reset for your soul. In relationships, silence can also bring greater peace. Instead of reacting impulsively in arguments, silence allows you to listen, to process, to respond with wisdom instead of emotion. Instead of filling every moment with conversation, silence allows for a deeper connection where presence speaks louder than words. It is in the quiet moments with those we love that true understanding is built, not in the noise, but in the shared stillness. Practicing silence does not mean avoiding communication or shutting yourself off from the world. It means being intentional with your words, speaking only when necessary, and allowing stillness to be a source of strength rather than discomfort. When you embrace silence, you realize that peace is not something you need to chase. It is already within you, waiting to be uncovered. So make time for silence. Sit with yourself. Breathe deeply and let go of the need to fill every space with words. In that quiet, you will find a peace that nothing and no one can take away. It is in silence that you come home to yourself. Silence is a powerful teacher. It allows you to step back, observe, and absorb the world around you with clarity. In a society where people rush to speak, to prove themselves, or to react instantly, those who embrace silence gain an advantage. They see what others miss, hear what others ignore, and learn in ways that only the quiet-minded can. Silence sharpens your awareness, deepens your understanding, and turns every moment into an opportunity for growth. When you choose to remain silent, you allow yourself to truly listen. Many people only hear what they want to hear, filtering conversations through their own biases and preconceptions. But silence teaches you to listen without the need to respond immediately. You begin to pick up on details, tone of voice, body language, hidden meanings behind words. You notice how people truly feel rather than just what they say. This makes you more intuitive, more insightful, and more aware of the deeper layers of communication that most people overlook. Observation is a skill that can transform your life. When you are silent, you can study how people interact, how they react in different situations, and what drives their decisions. You can watch patterns in human behavior, understand motivations, and see through deception. Silence grants you the ability to analyze situations without getting emotionally caught up in them. It allows you to think critically, to assess before acting, and to move with wisdom instead of impulse. In silence, you become a student of life. Instead of filling every space with words, you leave room for discovery. You begin to notice things that others take for granted. The subtle changes in people's energy, the unspoken truths in a conversation, the way someone's actions contradict their words. This awareness gives you an edge. It allows you to make better choices, to surround yourself with the right people, and to avoid unnecessary conflicts. When you are silent, you are also more open to learning. Talking too much often means missing out on valuable information. When you always feel the need to express your opinions, you leave no space for new knowledge to enter. But when you listen more and speak less, you become a sponge for wisdom. You learn from those around you, from experiences, from observing how the world operates. You absorb the lessons that life is constantly offering instead of blocking them out with your own noise. Silence is especially powerful in moments of uncertainty. When you are unsure of something, rushing to speak or act can lead to mistakes. But when you stay quiet and observe, you give yourself time to understand the situation fully. You allow the truth to reveal itself instead of forcing an answer. This is why the wisest people are often the quietest. They know that real understanding comes from patience, from paying attention, from letting things unfold naturally. One of the greatest advantages of silence is that it protects you from unnecessary problems. Many conflicts arise from speaking too soon, saying the wrong thing, or reacting without thinking. But when you remain silent and observe first, you avoid these pitfalls. You can see the full picture before responding, making sure that your words serve a purpose rather than create chaos. Silence gives you control over your own actions and prevents you from being manipulated by the emotions or opinions of others. Silence also teaches you humility. It reminds you that you do not need to have all the answers, that wisdom comes from listening and learning rather than always trying to be right. When you embrace silence, you become more receptive to new perspectives. You open yourself to personal growth, allowing yourself to evolve rather than stay trapped in fixed beliefs. The more you listen, the more you understand. The more you observe, the more you expand your awareness. In professional and personal settings, silence can be your greatest tool. In negotiations, the one who speaks less often has more power. When you remain silent, others reveal more than they intend, giving you an advantage. In leadership, silent observation helps you understand the strengths and weaknesses of a team, allowing you to make better decisions. In relationships, being silent in the right moments allows you to truly hear your loved ones, strengthening your connection with them. Silence also connects you with yourself. When you take moments of stillness, you gain clarity about your own thoughts, emotions, and desires. You understand yourself on a deeper level, free from the noise of external influences. This self-awareness leads to better decision-making, stronger intuition, and a greater sense of inner peace. The power of silence is undeniable. It allows you to see what others do not, to learn what others miss, and to move through life with greater awareness and wisdom. It is not about avoiding communication, but about using your words with purpose. When you choose silence, you gain more than just peace. You gain insight, understanding, and the ability to navigate life with grace and intelligence. So embrace silence. Observe more, listen deeply, and let life teach you in ways that only quiet minds can understand. Silence is one of the most powerful forms of communication. It speaks in ways that words never can. In a world where people feel the need to explain, defend, and react to everything, silence becomes a rare and commanding presence. It holds weight, creates impact, and conveys messages that words often fail to express. When used wisely, silence can build respect, strengthen relationships, and reveal truths that would otherwise remain hidden. Silence speaks when words become meaningless. There are moments when no explanation is needed, no justification required. When someone disrespects you, you do not have to argue or prove your worth. Your silence speaks for you, tells them that their words or actions do not deserve your energy. It tells them that you value yourself enough to walk away from anything that does not serve your peace. In this way, silence commands respect without the need for confrontation. In relationships, silence can be more powerful than any speech. When someone wrongs you, your silence can make them reflect more deeply than any argument ever could. People expect reactions. They expect anger, tears, or explanations. But when you remain silent, it forces them to sit with their own actions, to feel the weight of what they have done. Silence creates space for introspection, and in that space, people often come to realize the true consequences of their behavior. Silence is also a powerful tool for self-control. Many conflicts escalate because people feel the need to have the last word, but the strongest person in any argument is the one who knows when to stay silent. Not everything needs a response. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every situation requires your input. When you learn to control your reactions and embrace silence, you rise above unnecessary drama and protect your peace. There is also a deep wisdom in silence. Those who speak less often observe more. They listen, they analyze, and they understand before responding. This makes their words, when spoken, even more powerful. When someone who rarely speaks finally does, people listen. Their words carry more weight because they are not wasted. Silence makes your presence stronger because it creates a sense of mystery and depth. Silence reveals truth. When you stop speaking, you start noticing. You see people for who they truly are. You recognize patterns in behavior that you might have missed before. You observe body language, tone, and the unspoken messages behind people's words. In moments of silence, people reveal their true nature. They either become uncomfortable and fill the space with meaningless words, or they allow their actions to show who they really are. Either way, silence allows you to see beyond illusions and into the reality of any situation. In moments of pain or heartbreak, silence can be healing. Instead of wasting energy explaining yourself to those who do not understand or trying to make someone see your worth, silence allows you to focus inward. It gives you space to process emotions, to heal without external noise, and to regain your strength. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. Let your silence be your closure. Let it be your power. Silence also plays a crucial role in negotiation and persuasion. In business, in personal conversations, in high-stakes situations, those who know how to use silence effectively often come out ahead. When you speak less, you create a psychological effect where others feel the need to fill the silence. They reveal more than they intended, giving you valuable insight. In negotiations, a well-placed pause can make the other person rethink their position. Silence makes others uncomfortable, and in their discomfort, they often reveal their true thoughts. Even in moments of love and connection, silence is powerful. Some of the deepest connections between people happen in silence. A shared glance, a quiet moment together, a touch without words. These moments often hold more meaning than hours of conversation. Silence allows emotions to be felt. rather than explained. It deepens bonds and fosters understanding without the need for endless dialogue. Silence also connects you to yourself. In the quiet moments, you hear your own thoughts clearly. You gain clarity about what truly matters. You become more aware of your own needs and desires. Silence allows you to listen to your intuition, to align with your inner wisdom, and to find strength in your own presence. In a world that constantly demands noise, speaking, and proving oneself, silence is a bold statement. It says, I do not need to explain myself. I do not need to seek validation. I do not need to react to everything around me. It is a mark of confidence, self-respect, and inner strength. So embrace silence. Use it as a tool, a shield, and a source of power. Let it speak for you when words are unnecessary. Let it command attention, create mystery, and reveal truth. In the end, silence is not emptiness. It is presence. And sometimes that presence is louder than any words could ever be.